The Wild West, where legends aren't just told, they're lived. You've heard the tales of cowboys, outlaws, and saloon showdowns. Well, toss those dusty cliches aside, because today we're diving into the real-deal legends that didn't make it into your history books. These aren't your dusty textbook tales. They'll have you questioning what's real and what's myth, from the tales of a red ghost and reshaped justice to a grieving ghost whose cries haunt the night, and even a bandit who left poetry in his wake. This isn't your average stroll through the Wild West. In this video, we are exploring Wild West legends you have never heard before. Stay glued to your screen, because what you're about to hear will change how you see history forever. A long time ago, in the hot, sandy deserts of the Wild West, people told a strange and spooky story about the Red Ghost, a mystery that still makes everyone wonder what happened. This wasn't a gunslinger or an outlaw, but a mysterious, terrifying creature that supposedly haunted the Southwest in the late 19th century. What made the Red Ghost so unique was not its appearance, but the sheer terror it inspired in anyone who crossed its path. The story begins in the 1880s, when settlers in Arizona started reporting strange sightings of a massive, reddish animal roaming the wilderness. At first glance, it looked like a camel, a strange enough sight. But something more chilling accompanied these reports. Witnesses claimed the beast had a human skeleton strapped to its back, swaying grotesquely as the creature galloped through the desert. The first confirmed encounter came from a rancher's family near Eagle Creek. One morning, a woman stepped outside to collect water and was attacked by a massive, red-haired beast. The creature charged at her, knocking over barrels and leaving hoofprints larger than any horse's. The animal was gone when others arrived, but its reputation as a terrifying phantom had just begun. Soon, stories of the Red Ghost spread like wildfire. It wasn't always its size or strange skeletal rider that terrified people. It was the animal's supernatural aura. Some believed it was a demon. Others thought it was a punishment sent by God. And a few even whispered about Native American curses. Theories about its origins abounded, but none could explain the bizarre and otherworldly nature of this ghost. However, the truth may have been more grounded in history than the supernatural. During the 1850s, the U.S. Army experimented with using camels to navigate the arid Southwest. The Camel Corps, as it was known, brought dozens of camels to the region. However, the project was abandoned when the Civil War broke out and many camels were set loose. The Red Ghost likely was one of these escaped camels, though how it ended up with a human skeleton strapped to its back remains a grim mystery. Over time, sightings of the Red Ghost became less frequent, and its legend faded into folklore. The final nail in the coffin came when a rancher reportedly shot and killed the creature in the 1890s. Sure enough, it was a camel, and remnants of a human skeleton were found tied to its back. But the questions remained. Who was the rider? How did they end up strapped to the beast? And why did the camel terrorize the region for so many years? Forget the white hat and silver bullets. The real Lone Ranger wasn't a fictional hero in a mask, but a remarkable man who rewrote the rules of justice in the Wild West. Bass Reeves, born into slavery in Arkansas in 1838, rose to become one of the most feared and respected U.S. Marshals in American history. His story is so compelling that it almost sounds like folklore, but every word is true. Reeves escaped slavery during the Civil War, fleeing to the Indian Territory, modern-day Oklahoma, where he lived among the Cherokee, Creek, and Seminole tribes. He learned their languages and survival skills there, traits that would later make him a formidable lawman. After the Civil War ended, Reeves returned to Arkansas as a free man, eventually settling in the Wild West. When Reeves became a U.S. Marshal in 1875, The frontier was chaotic, dangerous, and ruled by outlaws. He was tasked with bringing law and order to the Indian Territory, a 75,000 square mile stretch of lawlessness. Reeves performed his duties relentlessly, arresting over 3,000 criminals during his 30-year career. Remarkably, he survived countless shootouts and ambushes without serious injuries, a feat that only added to his mythos. Reeves' brilliance was in his cunning. He was a master of disguise, often using costumes to infiltrate outlaw hideouts. In one instance, he posed as a wanted fugitive to gain the trust of a gang, then arrested them all in one fell swoop. His ability to outwit criminals was unparalleled, and his fearlessness was legendary. Despite the violence of his era, Reeves was known for his strict moral code. He refused to drink alcohol, avoided profanity, and had an unwavering commitment to justice. In one heartbreaking instance, Reeves was forced to arrest his own son for murder. This painful act exemplified his belief that no one, not even his family, was above the law. Historians believe Reeves' life inspired the creation of the Lone Ranger character. Like the fictional hero, Reeves rode a white horse, was skilled with a firearm, and operated with a sense of justice that transcended the Wild West's brutality. However, unlike the Lone Ranger, Reeves' legacy was buried for decades, largely due to racial prejudice. The Lanner isn't just a ghost story. It's a legend that has haunted the Southwest for generations. Her name means the Weeping Woman. Her tale is tragic and terrifying. Rooted in Mexican folklore, the story of La Llorona has crossed borders, evolving into one of the most chilling tales of the Wild West. The legend begins with a beautiful woman named Maria, whose beauty captivated everyone in her village. Despite her humble origins, Maria married a wealthy rancher, and they had 2 children. But their happiness was short-lived. Maria's husband began to stray, spending more time away and eventually leaving her for another woman. Enraged and heartbroken, Maria committed an unspeakable act. She drowned her children in the river as an act of vengeance. As the weight of her crime set in, Maria was overcome with grief. She threw herself into the river, hoping to reunite with her children in the afterlife. Instead, she was cursed to wander the earth as a restless spirit, crying for her lost children. Parents have used La Llorona's story for centuries to warn children against wandering too close to rivers at night. The legend claims she appears in a long white dress, her face obscured by a veil. Those who see her risk being dragged into the water to meet the same fate as her children. Some say she preys on the lost or vulnerable, luring them to their doom with her cries. While many dismiss La Llorona as a mere folktale, others swear she's real. Stories of ghostly encounters stretch across the Southwest, from New Mexico to Texas. Some have claimed to see her near rivers, or hear her chilling sobs in the dead of night. Others believe she's an omen of death, appearing before a tragedy strikes. Whether you believe in ghosts or not, one thing is certain: La Llorona's legend continues to captivate and terrify. Her cries have transcended time, reminding us of the Wild West's darker, more supernatural side. If you ever hear her wail on a quiet night, don't look for her. Just turn away and hope she doesn't find you. Black Bart wasn't your average outlaw. While most Wild West bandits were rough-and-tumble types who shot first and asked questions later, Black Bart had a different approach steeped in class, wit, and a surprising touch of poetry. Born Charles A. Bowles, he transformed into one of the most infamous stagecoach robbers in American history, with a reputation built as much on his charm as his crimes. Bart began his life of crime in the 1870s, targeting Wells Fargo stagecoaches, carrying gold and cash through California and Oregon. But here's the twist: he never used violence. Bart relied on intimidating appearance, his face masked by a flour sack with 2 holes for eyes, and a long coat that gave him an almost theatrical air. He carried a shotgun, but rarely, if ever, fired it. Instead, he calmly demanded the valuables, often apologizing to passengers for the inconvenience. His most distinctive trait? Poetry. Black Bart had a penchant for leaving behind short, rhyming notes at the scene of his robbery. One of his most famous poems read, "I've labored long and hard for bread, for honor and for riches, but on my corns too long you've tread, you fine-haired sons of earth." These verses became his signature, making him as much a curiosity as a criminal. Bart's poetic calling cards often mocked Wells Fargo and the futility of their efforts to catch him. The press loved him, and his escapades made him a folk hero. Despite his flair, Bart wasn't invincible. In 1883, after nearly a decade of successful heists, he was finally caught. A careless mistake, a handkerchief with a laundry mark, led investigators to his door. When arrested, Bart was polite and composed, confessing to his crimes without resistance. He even charmed the lawmen, insisting he never hurt anyone during his robberies. Sentenced to 6 years in San Quentin, Bart served 4 before being released for good behavior. After his release, he vanished into obscurity, leaving behind a legacy of intrigue. Some say he returned to his family in the Midwest. In contrast, others speculate he might have resumed his life of crime under a new identity. The Wild West wasn't just about cowboys and outlaws. It was also a place steeped in supernatural tales, none more terrifying than the Skinwalker. Rooted in Navajo folklore, the Skinwalker is said to be a witch capable of transforming into animals, haunting the remote deserts and plains of the West. This chilling legend has been passed down for generations, blending fear, mystery, and cultural warning into one unforgettable tale. According to Navajo tradition, skinwalkers were once healers or spiritual leaders who betrayed their people by using their powers for evil. They gained their shape-shifting abilities through dark rituals, often requiring the ultimate act of corruption, killing a close family member. Once transformed, they could assume the form of any animal, from wolves to owls, using this power to stalk, harm, or manipulate. Sightings of skinwalkers have persisted for centuries. They are often described as half-human, half-animal creatures with glowing eyes. In some accounts, they move unnaturally fast, their distorted limbs hinting at their cursed origins. The mere mention of their name is said to attract their attention, which is why many Navajo refuse to speak of them directly. One of the most infamous modern encounters with skinwalkers occurred at Skinwalker Ranch in Utah. Over the years, the ranch has become a hotspot for strange occurrences, from cattle mutilations to eerie lights in the sky. Residents have reported seeing large, wolf-like creatures that seemed impervious to bullets. These sightings have fueled speculation that skinwalkers are not just legends, but real entities that continue to haunt the Wild West. The skinwalker legend isn't just about fear. It's a deeply cultural warning. For the Navajo, it reminds them of the consequences of straying from moral and spiritual paths. The tale also speaks to the thin line between human and animal instincts, a theme that resonates across folklore worldwide. If you ever find yourself in the desolate deserts of the Southwest and hear strange howls or see glowing eyes in the distance, remember the legend of the Skinwalker. And whatever you do, don't go looking for. Some mysteries are best left unexplored. The Wild West wasn't just a land of outlaws and gold, and a place where the supernatural seemed to lurk just beyond the horizon. Among the most chilling legends is that of the phantom stagecoach, a ghostly apparition said to haunt the lonely trails of the frontier. The story begins with a tragedy. As the tale goes, a stagecoach carrying a wealthy family was ambushed by outlaws somewhere in the Arizona desert. The family, along with the driver and horses, was slaughtered in cold blood. The bandits, eager to hide their crime, set the stagecoach ablaze and left it to burn under the desert sun. But death wasn't the end for this ill-fated stagecoach. Soon after the massacre, travelers along the same route began reporting strange encounters. They spoke of a ghostly stagecoach wreathed in flames barreling down the trail at breakneck speed. Witnesses described the chilling sight of skeletal horses pulling the fiery vehicle, their hollow eyes glowing in the dark. Some claimed to hear the screams of the passengers, trapped forever in their fiery doom. The phantom stagecoach wasn't only a fleeting shadow, but a harbinger of death. Those who saw it often met with misfortune shortly after. Accidents, illnesses, and even violent deaths followed in its wake. The legend grew, with each new sighting adding to the fear and mystery surrounding the spectral vehicle. Skeptics dismissed the story as nothing more than a campfire tale. Still, the phantom stagecoach was real for those who lived on the frontier. Its appearances were often linked to specific locations, such as old stagecoach trails and abandoned stations, adding an eerie sense of place to the legend. The legend lives on today, with ghost hunters and folklore enthusiasts seeking out the haunted trails where the phantom stagecoach is said to roam. Whether it's a product of overactive imaginations or a genuine paranormal phenomenon, the tale captures the haunting essence of the Wild West. In this place, life and death often walk hand in hand. The line between the natural and supernatural was razor thin. Perhaps you should watch the horizon if you ever find yourself alone on a desert trail at night. The phantom stagecoach might just come roaring out of the darkness, a fiery reminder of the West's haunted past. Etta Place is one of the Wild West's most enigmatic figures, a woman whose name sparks intrigue, even though much of her life remains mysterious. She was the companion of the infamous outlaw duo Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid. Yet, her story is as much a puzzle as a legend. Etta's origins are largely unknown. No one knows when or where she was born, or if Etta Place was her real name. What we do know is that she was romantically linked to Sundance Kid, and she joined him and Butch Cassidy in their adventures as part of the notorious Wild Bunch Gang. Etta first appeared in historical records in the late 1890s, and she was photographed with Butch and Sundance. She looks poised and elegant in the picture, her refined appearance contrasting the rugged outlaw lifestyle. This juxtaposition added to her mystique. How did a woman of such apparent sophistication ride with one of the most infamous gangs in the West? Etta wasn't just a bystander in their exploit. She was reportedly an excellent horsewoman and sharpshooter, capable of holding her own in the harsh wilderness. Stories suggest she was fiercely loyal to Sundance and possibly participated in some of the Wild Bunch's escapades. The trio's exploits became legend, from daring bank robberies to high-stakes train heists. In 1901, Etta accompanied Butch and Sundance to South America, where they hoped to leave their criminal lives behind. Settling in Argentina, they attempted to start anew, purchasing land and posing as respectable ranchers. However, their past eventually caught up, forcing them to resume their outlaw ways. Etta's story takes an even stranger turn when she vanishes from the historical record. Some accounts suggest she left Sundance and returned to the United States, possibly under a new identity. Others speculate she stayed in South America and met an untimely end. Her ultimate fate remains one of the greatest mysteries of the Wild West. Deep in the rugged superstition mountains of Arizona lies one of the Wild West's most enduring legends, the Lost Dutchman's gold mine. This fabled treasure has lured countless adventurers, prospectors, and dreamers into the harsh desert, where many have met their end, searching for its untold riches. The story begins with Jacob Waltz, a German immigrant nicknamed the Dutchman, who allegedly discovered a rich gold vein in the 19th century. Waltz reportedly kept the location a secret, sharing only cryptic clues about its whereabouts. On his deathbed in 1891, he revealed fragments of the mine's location to a caretaker. Still, at best, the directions were vague. Landmarks like Weaver's Needle and descriptions of Shadowed Canyon. The legend exploded from there, capturing the imagination of treasure hunters worldwide. The Lost Dutchman's was said to be so rich with gold that finding it would make one instantly wealthy. But the pursuit of this fortune came at a steep price. Many who set out to find the mine never returned, their disappearances adding to the legend of a curse surrounding the treasure. The harsh desert environment, with its blistering heat and treacherous terrain, has claimed the lives of countless seekers. Some accounts even suggest foul play, with rival treasure hunters willing to kill to keep the mine's secrets to themselves. The Apache people, whose land includes the Superstition Mountains, have their warnings about the area. They believe the mountains are sacred and that disturbing them brings misfortune. Some tie the legend to tales of supernatural guardians protecting the gold, ensuring no one can claim it without facing dire consequences. Despite the dangers, the hunt for the Lost Dutchman's mine continues today. Modern adventurers use advanced equipment like metal detectors and GPS to search for clues, but the treasure remains elusive. Skeptics argue that the mine never existed, that it's nothing more than a tall tale spun by Waltz to confound his enemies or amuse himself. Yet, the allure of the legend persists, driven by the hope that the next discovery will be the one to unlock its secrets. The Hanging Tree of Goliad, Texas, is a legend steeped in the grim realities of frontier justice. This ancient oak, with its sprawling branches and gnarled bark, is a silent witness to the bloody history of the Wild West. In the mid-19th century, Goliad was a small but vital settlement on the Texas frontier, a crossroads for travelers, cowboys, and outlaws. With law enforcement spread thin, justice often took the form of mob rule, and the Hanging Tree became the focal point of this vigilante justice. Dozens of men met their end beneath its branches, hanged for crimes ranging from murder to horse theft, or sometimes for nothing more than suspicion. One of the most infamous tales associated with the Hanging Tree involves a group of cattle rustlers captured near Goliad. The townspeople, furious over the theft of their livestock, decided to take matters into their own hands. Without a trial, the rustlers were strung up on the tree, their bodies left dangling as a grim warning to others who might consider a life of crime. But the Hanging Tree's story doesn't end with these executions. Legend has it that some of the men hanged there were innocent, and their restless spirits now haunt the area. Locals and visitors alike have reported eerie phenomena near the tree: sudden chills, whispers in the wind, and even shadowy figures lurking in the moonlight. Some claim to hear the creak of a rope swinging in the night, a haunting reminder of the lives lost to frontier justice. The tree's sinister reputation also attracted those who sought to challenge its dark aura. In one story, a local cowboy dared to camp beneath the tree overnight, only to flee in terror after claiming to see ghostly figures circling his campfire. Others who've tried to cut branches from the tree have reported accidents and misfortunes soon after, leading many to believe the Hanging Tree is cursed. Despite its grim history, the Hanging Tree of Goliad is now a protected landmark, symbolizing the Wild West's rough and often brutal justice. And with that, we wrap it up on today's episode of Native Journal. Thanks for watching. Remember to hit the subscribe button and turn on the notification bell so you will be the first to see our new updates.